month of August, the international flights will be allowed in and outside Nigeria, which of course will change the dynamics a lot more. Security will have to be beefed up, and a lot of things will have to be maintained to ensure that people are protected. And so even as this new normal arises, I don't know if you can call it normal, but that's what we're going to go with. We need to remember that the basic things will still remain the basic things. Of course, you have to wash your hands, you have to maintain social distancing, you have to maintain hygiene, and of course, wear your masks. But that's not going to be enough. We're going to have to learn and remember the principles that we've talked about these last few months of the whole COVID-19 period. And I felt that it's just better to kind of like draw an overview, just create an overview for you to understand how everything works. Because a lot of things have changed. A lot of information has come out. A lot of misinformation has come out. And it makes sense for people to be clear, to have clarity about what works and what doesn't work, what you should do for your family and what you should avoid doing. And so we're going to go to the board very soon and we'll show these wonderful things. Now remember, the numbers are still rising around the world. Fortunately, in Africa, it hasn't been as bad. I'm not sure. Have we reached 1,000 deaths so far? Recorded deaths. I'm not sure we've reached that yet, but probably when you're watching this, we probably would have reached that milestone, bad milestone. So we've been a little bit more fortunate. However, things may change when international flights resume. So you really, really want to pay attention to this. Call your neighbors, call your friends. And make sure you catch this showing sometime during this week. I think it's going to show about 4 times. So with that, I'm going to take a break and I'll say hold tight and we'll see you back shortly. All right, welcome back. Now, in many ways, COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2 has revealed its hand. And what do I mean by that? We now know, yes, it's shutting down. The whole pandemic has caused a lot of problems. Economies have been shut down. A lot of people have been died, 170,000 as in the US, and then how many now? It's like 2 million as of the last count around the world. And it seems to be like this irresistible force that's going to huff and puff and blow your house down no matter what you do. And that just isn't so. As I've said, it has revealed its hand. We now know a lot more things than we did when it first started. We know how it operates. We know its weaknesses. And so we're going to look at that. We're going to look at how things progress. And I hope you just follow along with me. So I'll explain this in a minute. This is, I'm going to put about 3 layers of protection now. Basically, when somebody gets, SARS-CoV-2, the virus is all around us. So there are people that are affected, there are people that are not too badly affected. And so the first layer of protection is that it shouldn't come onto your body at all. It shouldn't come on your person. And so that's where the masks, the hand washing, the sanitizing, all that comes in to keep this from coming on your body. And even if it comes on your body, to keep it from going on somebody else's body. So you don't want to be selfish. You want to think of yourself and think of others as well. So this is the first barrier. The first barrier are the things that the CDC, the World Health Organization, doctors like me are saying that you need to start with. But as you can see, that's only the beginning. You can see there's a lot more that we have to talk about. So again, wear your face masks, wash your hands, maintain your social distancing, but it's not enough. So and there are people who did all that and still got infected, okay? So you want to be sure that even if you do get infected, you've built the strength, you've built that wall of defense within your body, and that's what we're going to talk about. So once people get infected, most of them, and I say 80%, will have a mild to mild illness. In other words, they have a fever, they have a cough, they may have chills, they may have rigor, it may even seem like malaria or even typhoid. And in some cases, you sense, you feel, you have a loss of taste. You have a loss of smell. That's for two reasons. One is that the virus specifically attacks the upper respiratory tract, which is the nose, the nostrils, the taste buds, the sinuses, the throat, all the way down to the voice box or the part of the trachea, or where the trachea begins. So the virus attacks that. The other reason why you lose your taste, your sense of taste or smell, is because zinc is depleted. And we'll talk about that some more. Zinc is one of the first lines of defense against the virus. It actually actively destroys the virus itself and the viral replication process, and we'll talk about that soon. So this is where a lot of it stops, especially if you have a strong immune system. You're able to fight off the virus. A lot of people talk about taking a lot of ginger, garlic. They have the stimulant inhalation, and they do all that to prevent it from progressing to the next stage. Unfortunately, in about a week, 2 weeks, many people will actually come out of it. And if you're fortunate enough to go to the isolation wards, when they test you positive, they will now give you their big guns, the big antivirals. And again, that all stops here. If there's a huge viral load, or if you're genetically deficient in some way, because genes play a role in it, or if your immune system is deficient, it will progress to the third stage, second stage, which is the lungs. And that's where a lot of damage can happen. As a matter of fact, those who have recovered from the virus and those who have they've tested the pathology. The pathologists have looked at the lungs of those who have died, and they've seen massive destruction of the lungs. The destruction of the tissue. The lungs are not as elastic as they should. Again, that's why they die, because basically they drown in their own blood and their own fluids. And that's because the virus has invaded, and it specifically attacks the wind pipes. The virus specifically attacks the wind pipes where gaseous exchange happens, where oxygen leaves the lungs and where carbon dioxide leaves the blood. So the oxygen enters the bloodstream, carbon dioxide enters the lungs so that it can be expelled. That is what the virus specifically attacks, and that can cause a lot of damage, especially if your immune system is weak. And remember, if in past programs we talked about things like vitamin D, zinc, vitamin C, and even vitamin A can be very helpful in protecting the lungs. And then if in more unfortunate cases, this is like 14% of that happens. In 6%, the virus it moves away from the lungs and into the systems. And that's really where the problem starts, because it's not just the virus that is doing the damage now. It's your own body, specifically your own immune system, which is going haywire and is now attacking not just the virus now, but attacking your own tissues. And we see, and we have heard of things happening, strokes happening. We've heard of kidney damage. We've heard of heart attacks. And we've heard about complete damage, amputation of the limbs as a result of damage to the blood vessels. And the key underlying factor here is that the blood vessels that take blood from the heart are affected in COVID-19. It's a problem both of the virus causing the problem and the body's immune system attacking what it thinks is the virus. And that is why you have such a systemic effect. And if this is not curtailed, and of course in Western world where there's an ICU, where there's top of the line equipment like ventilators and other things, if you have those available, you're lucky. But that's mainly in the Western world. In most parts of Africa, that is simply not available. So if it comes to this stage, it's all bets are off pretty much. And so eventually you have about 4 to 6% of systemic damage and eventually death. And we don't want to get to that point. So we're going to come back in a few minutes, about a minute, and then we'll come and talk about what you need to do in each stage to protect against this from happening. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. What do we do at different stages? As I've already alluded to a few of them. I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail. And of course, if you haven't been following our programs, please catch up. They're all uploaded on the NTA YouTube channel. They're uploaded on our website as well, brainandbodyfoundation.org. So you can catch up from there. Of course, the first level of protection is the face masks and the other things that we talk about. The second level of protection, and really you should be doing this on a regular basis. Your vitamin C, you need to be taking 1 to 2 grams a day, especially if you feel that you are immunocompromised, that you're more susceptible. If you're an older person, you need that amount for sure. You need at least 1 gram. And here's the thing, and my doctor friends, especially those on my platform for medical school, they're like, you need to warn people that there is a slight risk of kidney stones if it's too much or if you don't take enough fluids. And here's the thing, you don't want to take the vitamin C, like let's say it's 500 milligrams or 1,000. You don't want to take it as a tablet and just take it one time. What you should do, because your body takes only a little bit of the vitamin C at any point in time. It takes it and it uses it. And then it now waits for another time. So ideally what you should do is you should have a bottle of water or a drink or whatever it is, put the vitamin C inside it and be drinking it throughout the whole day. And that's what I do. I have a bottle of water and I put my vitamin C in it and I drink it throughout the day. Especially when I go and work out, I go and play squash. I use it as an energy drink, and I used it yesterday as a matter of fact. Put the vitamin C and then you drink it throughout the day. So that way you're presenting to your body the right amounts on an extended period of time rather than just giving it one time. Because if it's just one time, your body's going to get rid of it through the urine, most of it. But if you give it over a period of time, that's better. So vitamin C is very important. Zinc is very, very important. I think the recommended dose is about 25 milligrams to 50 milligrams. I take 50 milligrams. You're safe if you don't go any further than that. Vitamin A, some people have questions about it, but vitamin A protects the upper respiratory tract and the lungs as well. So you want to, cod liver oil contains both vitamin A and vitamin D, which brings us to vitamin D. And this is something that I'm still at a loss. I don't understand for the life of me why vitamin D is not being shouted from the rooftops. Because at this point in time, after all these months of working with COVID-19, there is one consistent fact that those who have ample or optimal levels of vitamin D in their blood, I'm not saying vitamin D is what is going to fix the problem, but those who have optimal levels, and that's about 40 nanograms per millimole, that's 40 to 60. Most of us don't have anywhere close to that number. But those who have ample levels tend not to have the severe forms, if at all they have if at all they contract the virus. So vitamin D is a protector. It does so many other things. But let me just point out a few things. But they found out that those who have ample levels of vitamin D are protected largely from upper respiratory tract infections. So it can hold it there. And there's even talk about vitamin D preventing the spread. That means there's less viral load in people who have, even though they have the virus, but those who have higher levels of vitamin D, they are less likely to spread the virus to other people. There's talk about that as well. But the most important thing, in my opinion, that vitamin D does, or that vitamin D helps your body do, is that it helps to suppress what is known as the cytokine storm. We've talked about that in other programs. If you, again, go back to our website. The cytokine storm, vitamin D suppresses that. Vitamin C also does that as well. So, and we said the cytokine storm is when your immune system is going haywire, is going berserk, and is attacking your body. And that's what happens over here. Your immune system is attacking the lungs, the brain, the blood vessels, the kidneys, and all that, and therefore causing damage. And that's what is known as the cytokine storm. Vitamin D, again, suppresses that. And again, so does vitamin C. So if you're in a situation in which you feel these are the symptoms of the virus, for God's sake, don't go and take dexamethasone. What you want to do is you want to take the vitamin D. You want to check with your doctor let the doctor know about it as well, and take vitamin C as well. Those two, vitamin C and vitamin D and zinc, will probably be the most important clues. Again, please don't just self-medicate. If you don't have it, then don't bother about it. I'm talking about those, we know that many of them who probably have the disease and they're not able to get to a hospital or a treatment center, or hospitals are turning them away. So I want you to really pay attention to this. These are tools that are available, and so you want to make use of them. So I'm going to talk, we've talked about some of the basic principles: vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D3. Now remember, there is D2 and D3. D3 is what is recommended. D2 is not as effective, and that is what are prescribed. That's what doctors are allowed to prescribe. But D3 is, from all reports, is much more effective than D3 and than D2. Excuse me. So D3 is more important. Of course, we've talked about zinc. Let's talk about zinc a little bit, because this is really very important. The zinc, what zinc does. Okay, so the virus. So let's say this is the virus, corona. It enters the cell, the normal human cell, and it makes copies of itself. It makes copies of itself. That is the way the virus thrives. If it cannot make copies of itself, it lies dormant. So it penetrates the cell and then causes damage, and then it multiplies within the cell, and then the cell bursts and releases the virus, and then the other viruses attack other cells, and then the process continues. That's really how the COVID-19 and most other viruses operate. All right? So the virus has to enter a cell. What zinc does, and why zinc is so important, is that zinc enters the cell and stops the virus from replicating. So zinc stops viral replication. That's why it's so important. All right, and we also said that zinc is important for taste and smell. So when you're losing your taste and smell, it means that your body is actually being depleted of zinc as a result of trying to fight the virus. Now, there have been a lot of talk about hydroxychloroquine in recent times, but think about this. Until recently, we were using hydroxychloroquine to treat patients in isolation wards. And it had been very effective. Dr. Otabo, who was here, who was on admission in the isolation ward, he was treated with hydroxychloroquine. So all this shout, and you're attacking people, and people are attacking other people who are talking about hydroxychloroquine and calling them quacks. I don't buy that, because if it was good enough for Nigerians, I think it would be good enough for anybody else. And it's still being used in many parts, even in the US, as an effective mode. And I just quickly want to say this. What hydroxychloroquine does is that it opens the door for zinc to go into the cell. Hydroxychloroquine is not really the drug. The drug is zinc. Hydroxychloroquine is more like an additive. It empowers, or it facilitates the entry of zinc into the cell so that it can do its damaging work on the virus. No hydroxychloroquine, zinc doesn't get in as well. So therefore, that is why, in fact, they give large amounts of zinc in the isolation centers along with hydroxychloroquine so that it can do its work. So again, why are they attacking people who are talking about hydroxychloroquine? We do not have the same facilities as the Western world does. We don't have the we don't have the ICUs, we don't have the ventilators, we don't have the remdesivir, which by the way is about $3,000 to $5,000, which by the way, Donald Trump, the US have all cornered the market on remdesivir. So what are we left with? What are we left with? And by the way, I'm really, really proud, because one of my classmates, my juniors in medical school, is the chief scientist over the whole project of remdesivir. So yeah, it's doing a good job. But we don't have access to it over here. Let's use what we have. And remember, these are the big four: vitamin A, C, D3, and zinc. You want to be careful with hydroxychloroquine. Don't just use it arbitrarily. Usually you should have a doctor to be there to prescribe it for you, but I'm just telling you this so you understand how it works. Remember, the borders are going to be open very, very, very soon, and so things are going to change a little bit. You need to be empowered with the information and the knowledge so that you can take the right precautions. If you're traveling, you need to have your vitamin C and vitamin D in stock. You should be taking them over and over again throughout your flight, especially if it's a long flight. Remember, you need to have good sleep. You need to rest well. You need to exercise, move your body. All of those, we've talked about them in the laws of life, about how important they are in the protection of your immune system, in the enhancement of your immune system, so that no matter where you are, whether you're at home or you're on the streets or at work, be sure to get as much sunshine, by the way. You will feel that you are being protected. Of course, there's nothing is 100%, but if you apply the basic principles of health, you should come out okay. So with that, I want to say thank you for listening. Remember to stay safe, wear your masks, maintain social distancing, be hygienic, support each other, and always be on guard. But of course, watch your health in your hands every week. God bless. Thanks for listening. See you soon.